Hi everyone, April Rodriguez-Plott here, and I am coming on to share the findings from my employee dissent survey. So back in January, I solicited some participation from my friends on Facebook to participate in a survey about dissent in the workplace. I looked for employees and supervisors to speak to to basically give, answer a couple survey questions about dissent in the workplace. From an employee perspective, do you engage in dissent? Do you consider it risky? Were some of the questions. What are the types of things that you fear when engaging in dissent? From the supervisor's perspective, I was kind of looking for, do you welcome dissent? Do you kind of create a culture where it's uh, encouraged, or is dissent looked at as insubordinate? So we took a look at, there were 5 questions for each particular survey. There were 37 participants total. 17 were employees, 17 were supervisors. We got a really good mix of results in terms of the responses. And what I'm going to go over today are the findings and my proposed training solution. So as a part of my master's degree program, my final capstone project is to select a communication problem within an organization and develop a training and development module around that particular issue. I find dissent in the workplace to be a critical issue. We all need to learn how to have voice and to dissent upward because our perspectives as an employee are really critical to decision-making skills within an organization. So here are some of the findings. In terms of the employee findings, 58% of the respondents thought that engaging in dissent was risky. 58 also feared that disagreement would negatively impact their relationships. 52 fear that concern will not be addressed. So if they raised an issue, they thought they would fall on deaf ears. 47 feared impact of future disagreements. And 41 feared their supervisor's reaction. So the bottom line and the takeaway for me after analyzing the employee findings was that the data really show that employees carry a burden of discomfort and fear and perceive risk when engaging in dissent. So this may cause somebody to not voice a valid concern or something that is worthwhile for the supervisor to hear an alternative view. From the supervisor findings, there were 17 participants. 40% responded that they considered employee dissent as challenging or insubordinate. There was a sentiment shared amongst the supervisors that an employee's intention, history, and approach to dissent would shape the perception of the dissent. So when supervisors described how they respond to the dissenters, the commonality that emerged is they want employees to bring solutions to them, but how they do that will influence whether or not it lands well. And so the delivery is important. 47% self-reported that they are somewhat easy to disagree with, and 47% that they incorporate employee feedback. Incorporating employee feedback essentially means the employees feel like they may get heard because supervisors are taking their word into consideration. So the bottom line for the supervisors was that their responses indicate that they want employees to have voice. They want employees to engage in productive dissent. But their issue appeared not to be dissent, but how it is done. So my solution centers around upskilling the employee and the supervisor on how to engage in dissent through a 3-step training focused on preparing for a difficult conversation. So there are preparations that we can take prior to having a difficult conversation that will allow us to maximize the positive outcome that we may have when we engage in dissent. The second step is conducting the difficult conversation. So the damage control piece of how we're listening, how we communicate, how we set up time to communicate our particular issue or matter of dissent. And then concluding the difficult conversation, because having the conversation really isn't the end, it's the beginning. So there are some post actions that are incorporated in the training to circle back to from employee and supervisor alike to circle back to orient to are we making progress? Do you feel seen, heard, and understood in the workplace? Um, this is my training solution, this three-step process focused on preparing for a difficult conversation, conducting the conversation, and the post after actions after concluding the conversation. So I have to find an organization to institute this training. So if you feel like dissent is an area that you would like to upskill yourself, your employees, or yourself as a supervisor, please let me know. And I would love to put together a training module for you and your folks. This would be an hour long training at the most, but it definitely would come with resources to continue to inform and educate your folks on the power of their voice, how to make your argument in a way where there's mutual gain, where you demonstrate that there is value to what you're saying for both the employee and the organization. So I really believe in creating conscious communication where employees feel seen, heard, and valued, while at the same time contributing value to the organization. So thanks for listening to my findings, and thank you for participating in my survey.